What if I told you that the device in your pocket right now might be quietly destroying the most important relationships in your life? What if removing it for just 24 hours could reveal truths about love, connection, and human nature that ancient philosophers understood thousands of years ago? Today, we're diving deep into a radical experiment that will challenge everything you think you know about modern relationships. We're exploring what happens when couples disconnect from their phones and reconnect with each other, guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. This isn't just another digital detox story. This is about discovering whether genuine love can survive in our hyper-connected world. But first, let me share something that might shock you. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. Now imagine you're having dinner with someone you love, and every 10 minutes a stranger walks up to your table and demands your attention. You'd call that person rude, wouldn't you? Yet we do this to our loved ones every single day with our phones. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He couldn't have predicted smartphones, but his words ring truer than ever. We're so busy imagining what might be happening in our digital worlds that we're missing what's actually happening in our real ones. Let me tell you about Sarah and David. They've been together for 3 years, and like most couples today, they thought they had a strong relationship. They texted throughout the day, shared memes, and stayed constantly connected. But when I challenged them to spend 24 hours without their phones, focusing only on each other, something incredible happened. The first hour was torture. Sarah kept reaching for her phone phantom style, her hand unconsciously moving to her pocket. David found himself staring at the blank spot on the nightstand where his phone usually lived. They both felt anxious, almost panicked. This wasn't love they were experiencing. This was withdrawal. But here's where Stoicism comes in. Epictetus taught us that we cannot control external events, only our responses to them. The phone addiction, the constant notifications, the fear of missing out, these are all external pressures. But our response to them, that's entirely within our control. As the hours passed, something beautiful began to unfold. Without the constant ping of notifications, Sarah and David started to notice things they'd forgotten about each other. The way David's eyes crinkled when he genuinely laughed. How Sarah unconsciously tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking deeply. These small, intimate details had been obscured by screens for so long that rediscovering them felt like falling in love all over again. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Around hour 8, they had their first real argument in months. Not about anything serious, just a disagreement about which movie to watch. In the past, one of them would have grabbed their phone to avoid the conflict, scrolling through social media until the tension passed. Without that escape, they had to actually deal with the disagreement. They had to communicate. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes profound. Seneca wrote that every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns inward. When we remove the constant external stimulation of our phones, we're forced to turn inward, to face our relationships honestly. Sarah and David discovered that they'd been using their phones not just to connect with the world, but to disconnect from the difficult work of truly knowing each other. The argument led to the deepest conversation they'd had in years. They talked about their fears, their dreams, their frustrations with each other. Without the option to escape into their phones, they had to be present with their emotions. They had to be vulnerable. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In our context, the best response to a disconnected world is not to become more disconnected, but to become radically present. Sarah and David were learning this lesson in real time. By hour 12, something magical happened. They stopped thinking about their phones altogether. They cooked dinner together, really cooked, not just heated something up while scrolling through their feeds. They talked about ingredients, shared stories about their childhoods, laughed at inside jokes. The meal took 2 hours, not because they were distracted, but because they were fully engaged with each other. The Stoics believed that happiness comes not from external pleasures, but from virtue and wisdom. As Sarah and David sat across from each other, phones nowhere in sight, they were experiencing this truth. Their happiness wasn't coming from likes, comments, or viral videos. It was coming from the simple virtue of being present with someone they loved. Hour 16 brought another revelation. They went for a walk in their neighborhood, a route they'd taken hundreds of times before. But without phones, they noticed things they'd never seen. The way the evening light hit the old oak tree on the corner, the sound of children playing in a nearby yard, the smell of someone's barbecue. They weren't just walking through their neighborhood, they were experiencing it. This connects to a fundamental Stoic principle. The present moment is all we truly have. When we're constantly connected to our phones, we're living everywhere except where we actually are. We're in the past, scrolling through memories on social media. We're in the future, anxiously waiting for the next notification. But we're rarely in the present, with the people who matter most. As night fell, Sarah and David faced their biggest challenge yet, going to bed without their phones. For most couples today, bedtime means lying next to each other while staring at separate screens. But that night, they talked in the dark like teenagers at a sleepover. They shared embarrassing stories, made plans for the future, and simply enjoyed each other's company. The final hours of their experiment were the most peaceful. They woke up together, really together, without immediately reaching for their phones. They made breakfast in comfortable silence, enjoying the simple pleasure of sharing a meal. When the 24 hours were up, they didn't immediately grab their phones. They sat together for a few more minutes, processing what they'd experienced. What did they discover? That love doesn't just survive without phones, it thrives. But more importantly, they learned that their phones weren't the problem. The problem was how they'd been using them. They'd been using technology to avoid the beautiful, messy, complicated work of being human with another human. The Stoics teach us that we become what we repeatedly do. If we repeatedly choose our phones over our partners, we become people who prioritize digital connection over real intimacy. But if we repeatedly choose presence over distraction, we become people capable of deep, meaningful love. This experiment reveals something profound about modern relationships. We're not lacking love, we're lacking attention. We're not lacking connection, we're lacking presence. In our rush to stay connected to everyone, we've forgotten how to be connected to someone. Epictetus said that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In our digital age, we might say that love consists not in having many connections, but in having deep ones. Sarah and David learned that 24 hours of undivided attention was worth more than months of distracted togetherness. But here's the real question: can you do it? Can you put down your phone for 24 hours and truly connect with someone you love? Can you face the discomfort of withdrawal, the anxiety of missing out, the vulnerability of being present? The Stoics believed that the path to wisdom begins with admitting what we don't know. Most of us don't know how addicted we are to our phones. We don't know how much they're affecting our relationships. We don't know what we're missing when we choose screens over faces. If you're in a relationship, I challenge you to try this experiment. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's 1 hour without phones during dinner. Maybe it's putting your devices away during your morning coffee. Maybe it's designating your bedroom as a phone-free zone. But I want you to pay attention to what happens. Notice the initial anxiety. Notice the urge to reach for your phone. Notice how your partner responds when you give them your full attention. Notice what you discover about each other when you're not distracted. And remember, this isn't about demonizing technology. Phones and social media can be wonderful tools for connection, but they're tools, not masters. The Stoics taught us that we should be ruled by reason, not by our impulses. When we compulsively check our phones, we're being ruled by impulse. The question isn't whether love can survive without phones. The question is whether love can survive with them if we don't learn to use them wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote that very little is needed to make a happy life. If we can choose our phones wisely, we might find that very little includes the deep, present, connected love that makes life worth living. Sarah and David's story doesn't end with their 24-hour experiment. They've continued to implement phone-free times in their relationship. They have phone-free dinners, phone-free walks, and phone-free conversations. They've discovered that love doesn't just survive without constant digital connection, it flourishes. Their relationship is stronger now, not because they've given up technology, but because they've learned to be intentional about it. They've applied Stoic principles to modern life, and the results speak for themselves. So I'll leave you with this thought from Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If your thoughts are constantly interrupted by notifications, if your attention is constantly fragmented by the pull of your phone, how can you expect to build the deep, meaningful relationships that make life worth living? The ancient Stoics understood something we've forgotten. The most important work we can do is the work of being present with other people. In our hyper-connected world, this work is more important than ever. Your phone will always be there, but the people you love won't be. Make a choice. Choose presence over distraction. Choose depth over breadth. Choose love over likes. Your future self and the people you love will thank you for it. What are you waiting for? The experiment starts now. Put down your phone, look at the person next to you, and remember what it feels like to be truly, deeply, completely present with another human being. That's where real love lives, and that's where it always has.